Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Netco Solutions and ANS Commerce, I welcome all of you to this very unique panel discussion themed around accelerating your direct-to-consumer D2C or D2C or DTC shift. I'm Pradyut Hande, Senior Growth Marketer and Product Evangelist at Netco Solutions and your moderator this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in very uncertain and unprecedented times. Business, as we know, continues to undergo a paradigm shift. The COVID-19 pandemic has reshaped industries, competitive landscapes, consumer behavior, and operational budgets. And the retail and CPG industry is no stranger to this shift either. Set in this backdrop, brands both new and established are either doubling down or setting things up from scratch with respect to their direct-to-consumer channels. Direct-to-consumer involves owning the entire customer relationship end-to-end and leveraging all relevant customer data points to create those unique, personalized, and memorable customer experience. Joining me today on this August panel, I have a bunch of industry leaders who are going to be sharing their insights and inputs on how brands can ace this D2C shift, scale growth, and cater to growing consumer demand. So without further ado, let me introduce you to each one of our panel members today. So I'm going to start with Akshay Agarwal, Head of Digital Marketing at XYXX Apparels. Welcome, Akshay.
Hello, brother. Thanks for the introduction. Welcome, everyone.
I haven't actually gotten down to the introduction yet, but thank you so much for joining us. So Akshay has spent over 7 years in the digital marketing space. As a data and tech-first marketer, he thrives on thinking about better funnel optimizations to make highly positive ROI-driven marketing for users acquisition and retention. He's previously held leadership roles at brands such as MyGlam and Baby Chakra. Welcome once again, Akshay. I now move on to our next guest panelist, Mr. Amit Monga, co-founder of ANS Commerce. Welcome, Amit.
Thank you, brother.
Very, very interesting background. When I sat down to write his bio, I was quite blown away. So with over 10 years of entrepreneurial experience in the e-commerce and digital domain, Amit actually built one of India's first sports e-commerce portals in India, which was later acquired by Snapdeal in 2012. His current company, ANS Commerce, founded in 2017, currently provides full stack e-commerce enablement solutions to 70 plus leading brands such as Jack & Jones, Veromoda, ITC, etc. Welcome once again, Amit.
Thank you.
I now move on to our third guest panelist, none other than Mr. Ashish Jain, Head of E-commerce and Digital Marketing at Godrej Interior. Welcome, Ashish. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks, Pradyut.
An industry veteran with 21 years of experience in organized retail across both offline and online channels, Ashish has been instrumental in launching omni-channel commerce for two of the biggest marquee brands in India, Reliance and Godrej. Welcome once again, Ashish. Our next speaker is Mr. Nitin GR, founder and CEO of Grand Pit Stop. Welcome, Nitin, to this very unique panel discussion.
Thank you so much.
With over 12 years of industry experience and being a lifelong biking enthusiast, Nitin founded Grand Pit Stop back in 2016, a next-gen design-led auto accessories company. His vision and the company's vision is to enhance the driving experience of both car owners and bikers around the world. So a lot of interesting insights are going to be coming from Nitin himself. And our final panelist of the day today is Mr. Sunil Jangiani, founder of Chemistry, someone who's been in the industry since the 1980s. And I'm sure he's going to bring a plethora of insights and inputs your way. His strong focus on product quality and nurturing exceptional customer relationships saw him launch Chemistry in 2005, which is now today one of India's fastest growing fashion brands for women. There's a lot more I could tell you about him, but I'm going to let him do the talking once we get to the panel discussion. Welcome, Sunil.
Hi, Pradyut. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So the way we're going to do this, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm going to ask each of the panel members, I'm going to throw open a question and we'll go in the order in which I introduce them. So just to reiterate, we'll start with Akshay, followed by Amit, Ashish, Nitin, and Sunil. So let's get down to it, gentlemen. What do you say?
Sure.
Yep.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, our attendees, I encourage you to drop in your questions, which we'll take up towards the end of the session. So feel free to continue dropping in those questions. All right, my first question to you guys. So we've seen the COVID-19 pandemic has really come as a bolt from the blue. And according to a recent Forrester report, the global retail industry, they say, will lose upwards of $2 trillion by the end of 2020 alone. And in such a backdrop, D2C has emerged as either a lifesaver or a game changer for many brands. So how has your brand made the shift to or double down on your D2C strategy? We'll start with Akshay.
So I definitely agree with the fact that COVID came and struck us out of the blue. Did not, no one saw this coming, but we saw the early signs coming in Jan, and we didn't expect, or I don't think anyone else anticipated it to have this long and this huge an effect on the markets as well as on how things are going to pan out. So till early March, we were all expecting to, this just go to, we just scrape through. But I think mid-March and later on, once the lockdown got announced, since then we are just now trying to see and we're now trying to understand how do as brands and as marketers we come to the foray and rise to the challenge. What COVID has helped us do is it has helped us realize what's at the core focus, which is the customer and the customer experience. uh, Definitely it has thrown the traditional retail and the outdoors off, and as a brand we were any which was heavily on invested on the direct to consumer business. uh, Courtesy COVID, now we have had to relook how our other channels are performing and realign our resources from there to here in terms of a shift of internal as well as external focuses as well. So now everyone wants to talk about how your direct to consumer channel is performing, and it's no longer a vanity metrics that they're going after. It's also about how the business is evolving on D2C. Considering retail will take some time to catch up, and I think by Diwali is what we are seeing, that retail, the traditional retail, the brick and mortar stores will come into play. I think till then and thereafter, the digital transformation and the digital shift is definitely here to stay. It's no longer a temporary blip. It's now a permanent shift and an altercation that has been a result of the COVID-19 situation.
Fair enough. Okay. Amit?
Yeah, so I would agree with Akshay that this DTC shift is not a temporary phenomena or linked to the current scenario. It's going to be permanent change. And
Right.
just to put things in
COVID-19 has
perspective,
just has sort of accelerated all of this.
absolutely, and both from the perspective of penetrating the market faster than what was expected earlier, and also creating newer avenues in terms of new categories of products getting launched in the market. Also, the focus of brands, how they want to build their e-commerce strategy. So I'll talk about how last 4-5 months have been for us, and we work with a lot of brands across sectors in fashion, auto, FMCG. So initial few months when the lockdown was announced, it was pretty bad for almost everyone, especially with clarities around how the lockdown restrictions are coming up, whether only essential category products are allowed, non-essentials are not allowed. So the first 1 or 2 months were pretty difficult for everyone. Supply chains were stuck, hence you cannot bet offline or online. But the moment the restrictions got eased out, everyone jumped onto e-commerce because that's the only place where customer was. There were a lot of pent-up demand. The consumer acquisition cost was all-time low.
Right.
So there were very quick benefits that brands could leverage on. And in terms of brands becoming more aware about their digital strategies, I mean, uh, almost the number of acquisitions that we did as ANS as a company last year, last financial year, equivalent to that is the number of brands that got onboarded with us in just 3 months. So this talks
Okay.
about the kind of focus that brands had on their e-commerce as a strategy. and especially their direct to consumer brand store is the focus for everyone, where they want to reduce the dependence on marketplaces. They want to make sure that they have a direct consumer approach available, and with the cost of acquisitions going down and a lot of shift towards prepaid payments, cash on delivery used to be a big hurdle for brands to have a direct to consumer play, because that would kill all the profitability earlier. But now that has shifted. Now almost the shift has gone to earlier being a 60-70% cash on delivery driven market, to now people are pretty comfortable paying an online payments. So that has also resulted into more viable business models for that.
Interesting. I think the last point that you made about digital payments picking up steam as well, because of the entire paranoia surrounding, the physical exchange of currency anyway. Interesting points there. Ashish, your thoughts on this?
So I think if you really see Godrej and Boyce as a company, so from a long time, almost from 3-5 years time period, we are always thinking about how to go to customer directly. And I think we have a couple of actually like Coco stores, our own stores, our franchisee stores also. But what happened, this pandemic has actually boosted that entire efforts, not actually maybe from reaching physical perspective, but more from an online perspective. So if you really see in past 5 months, what we learned actually that demand is shifting. So earlier we used to have a lot of actually corporates and MNCs looking for products where they want their entire campus, their entire floors to be enabled so that people can operate from there. So furniture requirement was there. Suddenly 4 months before, I think most of the guys were actually thinking about how they can actually set up the entire work from home in the employee's home. So I think those sort of demand shifted. So we were operating on the B2C platform. What we quickly did actually, we put all our B2B products also, which were more relevant on the same platform so that customer can actually buy from there. In addition to that, we do business, a lot of business actually from our channel partners. Channel partners were very low actually on the digital engagement, getting business from there. So, and interestingly, what we did in past 3-4 months, we enabled them rather than actually maybe working for them. We tried enabling them through trainings, through listing, telling them how to list, doing campaigns for them, and later on giving the entire responsibility to them. Because over a period of time, no brand actually can run all these things on their own, especially if they have a huge channel presence. So from that perspective, I think these are the few core things which changed after this pandemic, and where we worked to make sure that we remain actually be in business and operate business in with a growth perspective.
Awesome. Okay, that makes sense. Nitin, your thoughts?
Yeah, hi, Pradeep. So, as you also mentioned, we have always been a D2C company, being dealing in the niche market. So we take care of the customers which come from mainly two-wheelers and then four-wheelers. And our products are innovative in a way that our strategy, the company strategy from the very beginning has always been that you directly go to the consumer, take the feedback, improve your designs before it becomes a product which it's very difficult to find flaws in, and then you see also how to expand to the other geographies, right? So that has always been our core. And actually February was a time when we were getting into the offline after having a good reputation on online as an online brand. And but we realized that this pandemic, this is going to stay with us for a while, and instead of putting our energy and resources towards expanding to the offline markets, we should look into the other strategies. And one of the things that we did was we started expanding to other geographies. Though we see, US, it has been impacted by COVID pretty, badly. But if you look at the consumers over there, still the purchase is happening, right? So instead, so we were doing business in the US, we started in UK, and now we are looking into Germany. So this gave us an opportunity to enhance our D2C strategy, increasing more of our expansion to other geographies, focus less on the dealers, at least for the time being, and build a brand around it. And then our main focus has always been the customer experience. In biking community, people are very well connected. bikers are very well connected, and one bad review brings a lot of heat to you. So it becomes very, very important that your customer experience as well as the quality of the product is of that mark, right? So we further looked into all our processes, how we can enhance that customer experience, and as well as on the quality part also. So it brought a big shift in our strategy also post COVID.
Right, I think very important point. We keep saying D2C shift, we talk about transition to online, we talk about the emphasis on digital, but what's so important is that the customer still remains central, because at the end of the day, you want to deliver as much value as possible, and your focus has to be on delivering the most viable, sustainable, and memorable customer experience. That makes perfect sense. I now come to you, Sunil. Your thoughts on this?
So Pradyut, we've always been D2C in the sense that we had our own stores. When we launched the brand, coming from a manufacturing background, we launched the brand in 2005, 2004 or 5. There was almost no online. It was very nascent in this
Right.
country. I mean, they just started up. I think Myntra was just a startup, and Flipkart was also just getting themselves established. Amazon, I don't think, had entered, so there was hardly any online business. So we actually built the brand on the strength of DTC through offline stores. What happened in this pandemic was, in a sense, I think it was actually worked as we almost got a chance to double down on what we were doing anyway, which was adding the online piece to the offline piece. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we've been very bullish on this online business. And the pandemic has resulted in this contactless society. And I don't think this is going to go away that easily, at least not until a vaccine comes. And people are going to remember this for a long time. So I feel that the online piece is going to be a very important piece in the years to come. And we want to actually take advantage of that and actually build the brand more online now. And we can do that because it gives us great reach. Number 2 is there's no physical space restriction that we can only do X number of products. And in the more important metros, space is your biggest problem because the costs are ridiculously high. So actually now we can leverage the brand, make it stronger online by going into different categories of products also. So I think that it's not the best thing that happened, and of course it's going to hurt the offline business for a long time to come, probably, maybe at least a good 12 to 18 months more. But at the same time, you have to look at this as an opportunity, and the opportunity lies in the fact that you can really do a lot of different things that you couldn't do earlier. And that's really the way we are looking at it as a brand and saying that, look, this is a great chance for us to make this brand bigger and better and even more versatile. And we're going in that direction. So for us, it's more a double down than anything else.
Awesome. I think, as they say, or rather I've heard this somewhere, they say that necessity is the mother of invention, but adversity is the grandmother of opportunity. So I think a lot of brands are now viewing it through that prism.
You can't take away the impact of what has actually happened.
True.
I mean, it's going to be,
True.
it's a severe impact. We're seeing it in the GDP numbers. We're going to see
Correct.
it for months to come. I don't think it's going to go away in this financial year, maybe part of next financial year as well. So, you have to be ready for the next step on how do you keep your business growing? How do you keep it consistent? How do you keep your customer happy all the time at the same time?
Correct.
If the stores are shut.
True. And I think that brings me to my next question. While you guys touched upon the journey of your D2C strategy, I'd now like to, pick your thoughts on what you believe are the key challenges, especially in today's times, to scale a D2C brand. We'll start with Akshay.
One of the challenges that most of the D2C brands faced during the lockdown was the supply chain. Supply chain as an industry was severely compromised because there was no manufacturing that happened during March and large parts of April as well, and I think till the mid of May as well. Another industry or another challenge that we faced while opening up on the direct to consumer business for us was the last mile logistics, actually delivering the products to the consumers, because what we realized was there is an immense amount of pent-up demand. We are already compromised in supply because there is no manufacturing that has happened for a good 2 months.
Right.
And suddenly there is not many people who can actually go out and deliver the product physically, because a lot of labor had gone back to their old natives and everything. And we realized, uh, after a very long time, we saw that demand surpassing supply, and seldom do we see this, and it's every market is wet dream. But what we realized was this is actually turning into a nightmare soon, because the challenges that we faced were horrible customer experiences, people not getting their products for weeks and months at a time, and the skepticism of actually coming back and ordering again, because if you had a poor experience in the first go, then
Repeat purchase
your
becomes a challenge.
the repeat purchase becomes a challenge. It's not just about the repeat purchase, but also about the post-purchase customer experience.
Right.
If you have any warranties to claim, or if you have any issues with the product. And we realized that now is the time to go out and find effective communication happen in this. So these were the two challenges that we saw in the COVID scenarios. One, opportunity that we saw here was, as a brand which we had a lot of supply which we couldn't sell in the months of March to May. We were able to liquidate a lot of our stock quite effectively
Okay.
and quite easily. But that also came at a very good expense of customer experience, because logistics was quite broken. So I think these were the two challenges that we faced during the entire COVID and opening of COVID scenario for our D2C play. One of the challenges which I think a lot of other folks in the industry, which I speak to very often, they told me that the brands, people are wanting to trust the brand, but are not particularly sure who to go with. So if your brand
Right.
has stood for a particular value, or if your brand has made that communication effort in the past, as soon as you were saying that he's built a brand purely from the offline play, and it's a veteran brand, then the people were the people wouldn't be as skeptical to try that brand for the first time. So we
Okay.
saw that if you've invested into actually, the brand and the customer experiences in the past, the first time trials were coming in easily, quite easily, to be honest.
Awareness is already there.
Right. So if you, and as someone, as a marketer, what we realized is, while we couldn't sell during March to mid of May, we used that period to build a lot of awareness, build a lot of reach. We kept on doing a lot of our communication. Said that whatever orders are stuck, but we ensured that we are proactively communicating and not reactively communicating. That helped us get a good jump once the lockdown restrictions eased. So that
Okay.
was something that was our experience in opening up of the lockdown.
Right. I think important point here being that you mentioned towards the end how being proactive was the need of the hour, because you've got to think two steps ahead, not just keeping existing customers, build actually customer confidence in the brand, but also thinking about when a post lockdown situation arises. And I think that's precisely what you guys did. Amit, what about you? Consulting for a lot of these e-commerce D2C brands, what are their challenges currently?
One is obviously on the supply side, and this is, operational side, which is both on demand as well as supply. So the brand faced problem with their manufacturing also. Same reasons, the labor not available or the movement of goods are restricted. And on the demand side, where you have an order, but how do you make it deliver to the end customer? Which is where both twofold challenges. One, having the labor available to process the orders, and then the delivery partners enabling the end customer delivery in pan India basis. So that was one of the major struggles. I think other than that, one of the challenges that brands struggle, or is very critical for DTC, is getting the right ROS. And I think ROS is the right mantra in terms of how much how much returns on ad spend that you can
Ad
get.
spends.
And it's a combination of multiple factors. It's a combination of visibility, and hence the traffic that you are driving on either your store or on marketplaces, uh, uh, and a combination of the conversion that you're getting over there, where it becomes very critical how your tech stacks are built. what kind of conversion rate optimizations you have done, how are you monitoring your funnels, and last but not the least, what is your average order value? How do you make your consumer buy that extra item, which makes your economics work? Uh, I think that getting the equation right was critical, and is now becoming more and more critical for brands to build a very viable business model. So I would say supply chain challenges and getting the return on ad spends right are the two key critical factors for any brand.
Okay, okay. Ashish, your thoughts on this?
So I think it's very much dependent on the categories in which you are actually operating. So maybe if you think
Right.
about an essential categories like maybe grocery, where demand is still intact. But if you think about category like maybe jewelry, furniture, and discretionary purchases, I think demand side uncertainty is the biggest challenge which you have. Because while supply chain, I agree with both Akshay and Amit that it was a challenge actually. But if you see in past 4 or 5 months now with more and more restrictions easing, I think that challenge over a period of time is like easing out. So I think while that is taken care of, the demand side uncertainty, what to produce, what not to produce, I think those sort of challenges still are there. While festival season is coming, and everyone is very gung-ho about it, but still the challenges lie in what products will be sold and what will be the purchase pattern. In addition to that, the market is now very cluttered in terms of marketing. So as Amit is saying about ROAS, I think that becomes like so critical for most of the organization, because at one end you don't want to spend much, but at the other end you want actually whatever demand is there, you want to capture that demand. So
Right.
from that perspective, I think more focus on driving sales, leads, revenue from very concentrated efforts is, I think, something is required and is a bigger challenge, because now everyone is talking about investing in digital, investing in like D2C. So it's much more like a clutter in the market, which you keep on actually working to make sure your brand succeeds.
Okay, okay, interesting. Uh, Nitin?
Yeah, so I believe Akshay and Amit has covered most of the challenges that we were also facing during the COVID time. So supply chain and having a dynamic, unserviceable areas was the biggest challenge that we faced. In a way, a order will come when that pin code was serviceable, and when you play, try to deliver it, it doesn't get right. And as Akshay also said, taking the return of that order, it's very difficult for you to make customer understand that that it's actually a problem, right? We face that big challenge during the COVID time, and how I foresee in coming time is, sorry, yeah. And in what I foresee in coming challenge, which is going to be for all the D2C brands, as Ashish also mentioned, will be more competition, more clutter we are going to see in the market. Like in my competition is more local, and it's more like a small manufacturer trying to selling his products in offline channel. But now those competition are also trying to come online, trying to be a D2C, right? And as honestly they are just new, they don't understand that much of how much marketing spend is going to do, how to make your
Right.
P&L profitable. They will try left and right to make sure that they come quickly, right, get the ratings quickly. So I believe that's definitely going to be a challenge in coming time, I see. And look and feel of, you asked about the challenges on scaling to D2C. Look and feel has always been a challenge on D2C, but I also foresee that if you have the right technology, if you're able to provide that experience to the customer without actually having the product in your hand, that is really going to be a big thing, right? And it can be done in numerous manners. Like we started creating videos of on our products recently, right? So that and the customer understands, okay, this is how it looks, and this is how load it can take, and all those things, as well as getting the reviews from the YouTubers, influencers we have. So I believe this is the coming time. I believe these are the challenges that we are going to face.
Interesting. I think it's going to open up a new market for D2C e-commerce growth hackers, because everyone's going to be looking for quick wins. All right, I
Yeah.
now come to Sunil.
So I'm not going to say the same things that everyone else has said, because those have been the short-term challenges in the lockdown, and everybody's faced those, whether it's in our industry or any other industry.
Correct.
But from a fashion perspective and from our own perspective, one of the things that we find challenging is that when you switch to, or you make this switch to online, uh, you're dealing. It's a game of width, not of depth. And dealing with this huge number of items that you have to make, because we fortunately control most of our own manufacturing. So in a sense,
Right.
we are vertical. We don't do so much outsourcing. So the supply chain disruptions for us have just been temporary, and I think that in the coming month or so we'll be back to operating at full strength. But still, the point is that if we have to make a meaningful impact in this online direct to customer business, we must have a lot of products.
Right.
And then it comes back to inventory management, and how do you really basically produce the right goods, and how do you have such a big diversity of product that you can cater to various segments of customers, and have an important space in various categories. So for us, that is the challenge, because that's where the growth is going to come
Growth
from.
is going to come.
And that for me is, besides the short-term challenges and besides all the disruptions during and after COVID, that to me is the greatest challenge going forward.
Makes a lot of sense. I like the point that you made there, of it being a game of width and not of depth, because at one level you want to make as many relevant products available to your customers, but on the other hand, you're also desperately trying to ensure that your inventory is being managed optimally. So that's
History
an
will tell
ongoing
you,
battle.
sales history will tell you what is really going to be selling and what belongs to a core category that you should always have. But at the outset, you don't have that
Right.
sales history. So you have to bet on many small things and throw many things on the wall and hope that some
To
of
see
them
if
will
something
stick.
sticks. Right.
Yeah.
Understandable. Okay. So we briefly touched upon the importance of delivering a seamless and memorable customer experience. I now want to get your thoughts on, how, for D2C brands delivering and optimizing customer experience, uh, the touch points available may be limited in such a scenario. So what are the strategies that can be adopted by such brands to maximize customer engagement or retention, in your opinion? Akshay, we'll start with you.
So if we are looking at doing an optimal customer experience, one of the things that I've realized is having an honest communication, because we stopped calling ourselves, we are the best on the planet. We're actually
Right.
not.
And
Let's
no one's going to
accept
believe that anymore.
right. It's no longer a game of superficial superlatives. Let's be real. Let's be honest. And one thing that came from the customer that we realized is, let's talk to the customer a lot more than what we were doing before. So let's talk to them in terms of what is the pain point that they're trying to solve. So we realized that a lot of in tier 2, tier 3 pin codes, certain delivery partners were not delivering the product to the person's final house. So for example, if you've ordered from a tier 3 small town, the delivery partner would call up the person and say, "Bahar chowk tak aa jao." And
Okay.
that's not the kind of an experience that we want. So we
Right.
weren't aware of this. So once we started talking to the customers more and more, we realized that there are certain operational loopholes that are arising out of the situation. So we have to find out a way to make sure that these don't happen. So one of the ways, one of the strategies that we adopted was investing in listening to a lot of customers. So we, as a leadership team at XYXX, we all have carved out a lot of time from our personal schedules to be on calls with the customer, and we talk to them in terms of, okay, what are the loopholes that we are facing, what is it that we're doing, etc., etc. And that has been a phenomenal of an experience, because so much you can learn on so many things that you will not realize by working from home if you're not aligned with your customer. And right from the pain points of last mile logistics, or like right from your superficial communication or post purchase behavior, um, the customer helped us find our north star, I would like to call it that way. And one of the other things that helped us overcome a lot of these operational inefficiencies was planning for the worst and being prepared for the best. So we
Okay.
started, going double down on our processes. So if we have a certain amount of inventory, we are instead of going double down and saying, thinking, okay, we'll get the inventory replenished in XYZ time. Now we are going double on the time, because that's actually the time which is actually getting taken. So we are trying to optimize every step of the process, right from
Okay.
inventory planning to demand forecasting. We are actually trying to be very, very frugal in ways, because there is not a lot of cash which can be spent around.
Right.
And as Amit and other co-panelists mentioned, ROAS is extremely critical.
Got it.
And Ashish rightly touched upon the clutter and the sudden increase in the competition. So we factored that in as well, and we are trying to figure out what is the space, what is that is going to differentiate us from all the clutter that is just a function of COVID. So
Okay.
Nitin rightly pointed out that a lot of manufacturers have now suddenly become D2C players, and they don't really have an understanding of how much
Correct.
marketing dollar will have to be spent to get shit done. But what is happening is that's now their overspending is leading to my CPMs and my rise of
Correct.
cost of marketing. So how do I offset that? So we're getting better at planning. As marketer, as manufacturers, we're getting better at planning. That's one way we are where we are trying to get better and trying to sort of tie all of these loopholes and loose ends together.
Awesome. I think really interesting insight there is listening to your customers, because a lot of the times when you're so focused on your metrics, you're so focused on improving product discovery, reducing your customer acquisition costs, etc. Very often you don't listen to what the customer's actual pain points are. So very interesting point there. Amit, what about you? What is your take on this?
So, see, it's about giving the right experience to the customer right from the time he sees your advertisement to the time he comes on your portal to the time he checks out and makes a purchase to the time the product he receives the product, and even the quality of the product that he receives. So,
Right.
think of it happening in an offline space. If a customer walks in a store, walks around, the ambience, the way your products are stacked, the way your staffs are engaging with the customer, how much time he's spending to make the purchase, make the checkout at the counter. Are you making him wait in a queue? That defines his takeaway experience of your brand, and that will
Correct.
determine whether he's gonna come back to you or not. So online is no different. It's just that the everything is the same, but you have to do those small things right at each and every step. I'll just elaborate a couple of those points. So for example, when you're making your advertisement, what are you putting on your banners? What are the products you're going to showcase to the consumer? What communication are you putting on it? Is it consistent with what you actually have products on the website, or are you just showing a customer? Let's say you have a flat 50 banner. When you're landing a customer on a landing page where he just sees two products on flat 50 and rest everything on a 30%, he's going to have a bad experience. He's going to feel that you're cheating him.
Cheating.
um,
Right.
Similarly, when he lands on your website, uh, are you providing him the right kind of experience, both in terms of the speed of the website, the UI UX, merchandising experience? Are you showcasing him a high quality product images where he can make the right decision? Are you providing him enough information for him to make the purchase decision or not? Are you showcasing him reviews? Do you have a chatbot where he can ask questions? Do you have FAQs? So all those small things basically determine how he perceives your brand. And then obviously the checkout process, I mean, it has to be up there. Customer should feel that he's purchasing from a secured brand, he's purchasing
Right.
from a secure platform. And once the product he makes a purchase, making sure that it is reaching on time to the SLAs that you define. Even if it's not, then proactively reaching out and communicating to the customer about the delays. And people understand in COVID times there are supply chain challenges everyone is facing, but it's about how proactively you are reaching out to them and ensuring that they are communicated well. And lastly, it's about the product. Once they have the product in your hand, if they don't like the quality, they're not going to come back to you again. So making sure that you have the right product that you're selling to the end customer at the right price for them to become your loyal customers, for them to become your patrons and talk about you to 10 other people, because that's going to get you repeats, that's going to get you the brand loyalty.
True, word of mouth is a powerful multiplier. Interesting point that you made there about the attention to detail at every stage of the customer journey, because any break in any of these steps can actually sort of like take away from whatever a customer experience you're trying to build at an individual level. So, yeah, very interesting point there. I now come to Ashish to gain his thoughts on this.
So I will tell you, like, while there is a big impact on business, there is also a big impact on actually customer also. So brands who are actually listening to customers, like as an example, look, most of the people are now working from home. So what we realize as a brand, that they need actually some solution, because 8 hours, 10 hours they are working on from home. So we started actually doing series on exercises, which these people can do maybe for 2 minutes exercise. Every day we kept on posting for almost 6 to 8 weeks. The second thing which we understood, that okay, now everyone is trying to like save cash. So from that perspective, can we actually introduce value for money products from the brands like Godrej? So
Right.
what we did actually, we tried understanding what is happening in the market, empathize with that customer, and then tried working out solutions for them. So rather than just actually increasing our pitch for advertising, we tried getting into the insights and did something which actually creates value for them. Today, if you really see the touch points, if you see from a communication touch point perspective, they're like huge, large number of touch points are there. Everyone has like a chatbot, ORM is there, call centers are there, but effectively most of the experiences are broken. So what we realize now, as more and more people are actually coming through these channels, it actually makes sense for us to synchronize everything, communicate properly. And like everyone is saying, customers are ready for delay, but they actually are not very happy if you're not communicating with them. So I think those are the things which as a brand we are working on. And of course, industry is also working on these parameters to make sure customer experience improves for a better business, as well as growth, as well as from a customer perspective. Give a comfort from a brand that they are listening to you.
Right. I think Amit and both Ashish, you guys talked about how customer tolerance is now probably at an all-time high, but it's so important for brands to continue to push out those updates or relevant communication to keep them informed. Because at the end of the day, it's always better to not, you know, customers might they should not assume that this might be an issue. So yeah, very interesting point there. I now come to Nitin. What about you in this case?
Yeah, so I will add to what Amit and Ashish said. How we try to take care of was, we understood the hiccups are definitely going to come, right? And there you will face challenges, operational challenges, instead of whatsoever you do, right? For example, at the time, there was a probability that our workshop will get closed or something, right? You might have the inventory which you can sell, but because you have been shut down, so you just can't do anything, right? So we try to optimize that risk that we were taking at that time, and instead of using only one fulfillment center, we use multiple fulfillment centers. Like some of the our inventory, we will send it to Amazon, FBA fulfilled by Amazon, and not only in Delhi but in Bangalore. Some went to ANS. So we try to optimize that hiccups that we were definitely going to face, and that's how we optimize that part.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Interesting. Sunil, your take on
So
this?
so I'm very old school in my thinking. I believe that everybody's saying the right thing about packaging and communication, and that's a must today because that forms part of your customer engagement. But I think the maximum impact ultimately comes from the product. If the product is consistent, the quality in the hands of the customer is meeting expectations, their satisfaction levels post using the product are right up there, then you're basically looking at that as the winning strategy for your brand. So I feel that just product integrity, product consistency, always being honest with your customer, not just in the communication, but also in what you're selling them is very key. And to me, that really is something that there should be no compromise on. So you don't lower your standards anywhere. Your communication may be slightly short of sassy sometimes. Your packaging may be slightly short of sassy, but if you get the product right, the packaging disappears, and so that's what it is.
Right. I think the basic truth remains the same, where there's no substitute for a good product at the end of the day, and that is again central to a great customer experience. All right, so now we're going to switch the order in which you guys respond, and this is a question that a lot of brands grapple with. So should D2C brands focus on increasing their footprint on e-commerce marketplaces, or should they focus on improving or setting up their own website or mobile app? We'll start with Sunil this time.
So I think, look, I'm speaking purely from my
Sure.
personal business and my point of view. I think that a hybrid model works the best. You basically have to have your own brand store, but you must also, if you want to scale a business, you must partner up with the people who have the maximum footfalls, who are spending the most on marketing, and who really have a reach much bigger than you can ever hope to have. Your brand website will take time. It will be more your showroom, your show window to the world. You can personalize your experience on your brand store, but you'll do much more business when you actually are listed on a different marketplaces. So I feel that you need to balance both the strategies. You have to look at your business from a numbers perspective, and you have to look at your brand from a brand perspective, and from a perspective of how do I improve the customer experience. Because when they go on a marketplace, they're getting a generic experience. You're not highlighted, or they're not walking through anything curated over there. But on your
Brand, and Sunil, in this, and you as a brand are unable to control that customer experience.
You can't control it. You have to look at that purely as a numbers business, because they're going to get X number of footfalls, X number of clicks, X number of conversions, and that's a numbers game. On your own portal, you're not going to get all of that. You can't look at that purely from a numbers point of view. But yes, that's where your customer acquisition will come from.
Okay. Nitin? Nitin, you're on mute, I think. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I agree with Sunil on the hybrid model. And, apart from that, I would like to add that it also depends a lot on what type of brand you are, what type of products you are selling, what type of TG that you are fulfilling need for, right? Everything depends on your customers at the end. You have to work with your customers wherever they are comfortable with. If you have a particular type of TG which is more comfortable going on Amazon, Flipkart, and comparing your products with other products and trying to find the USP in your products and compare it with the help of the pricing and rest, that Amazon or e-commerce businesses might be the best way of doing it, right? And that's one. I believe, website definitely is the best way of selling. But at the end, it might not be in your control. You might be putting a lot of effort in building a brand through your website, but at the end, customer is the boss. You have to follow him. You have to see where he is going to be comfortable more at.
Okay. We'll go with Ashish.
So interestingly, if you see actually in US market also, Shopify almost got say valuation increased by multiple X. The reason is many actually small time players also want to open their own website. But as Sunil is also saying that, look, it's more about a hybrid model, because you want to go where customers are. And if you see in India, both Flipkart, Amazon, 100 million plus actually customers are there. So there is no way any brand will want to actually lose opportunity where their customers are. But the biggest challenge, and if you really see, you need to keep on balancing it from a customer acquisition cost. If you want to drive traffic to your platform versus if you are on these platforms, the cost, of course, is like the short term. If you really see, the cost will be in favor of actually placing your products there. But from a discoverability perspective and maybe long term, because these brands over a period of time, they know actually a lot of data points, and you see, I mean, like everywhere they are trying to put their own products also, which are almost identical to the brand products. So from that perspective, I think that sort of challenge is there. The discoverability for good brands is a problem, and that's the reason they need to have their own presence also, where they can actually communicate with customer over a period of time, build some sort of a loyalty which can work for them in future. Like what Amit was also saying, now more and more brands actually want to have their own web presence. But ultimately, it's not about web presence, it's about customer acquisition and customer acquisition cost. So if you want to have those sort of as part of your bigger plans, it makes sense to invest there. Otherwise, maybe just a small time investment will not work actually from that perspective and the success of that brand.
Okay. Okay. Amit, your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's not an option of either brand store or marketplace. You need to have both. It's about when do you want to have which one you want to prioritize, which one you want to do later. Because if you see offline versus online, in offline you have your own exclusive outlets, and then you have multi-brand outlets. So you play that hybrid game where you try to optimize customer experience, you try to optimize the economics and margins, and you do both. In online, I think more and more brands have started becoming aware that on marketplaces, all they're building is sales. They are not building any customer databases. They're not building any long-term sustainable business, because I mean marketplaces would come up with their private labels. Marketplaces would
Right.
have other brands selling. How do you make sure that you're building a sustainable model? You need to have your brand store. Not when do you want to prioritize it? If you're a private label, if you're a new brand which is not very well known, probably marketplace is a good place to start with, because you get to learn quickly what is selling, what is not, and build on that learning. And then gradually, once you are clear about your product positioning, about your pricing, about your strategies, then go on the brand store strategy. But if you're a big brand, if you're a known brand with a loyal databases, there's no reason why you should not go for your brand store. And I mean, Ashish mentioned about Shopify valuations. I mean, we have our own platform called Cartify, where we host all these brand.coms, and it's like a Shopify plus plus, because it's Indian made, meant for performance marketing, very focused around enterprise brands. And we have realized that the it used to be an equation where brands would say a 5% of their business or sub 5% of their online business would come from brand store. But that is changing very rapidly. We have brands where we are delivering 30%, 40% of their online sales coming from their own brand.com. We have case studies where 10 crores of sales in a single day on a brand.com. And those are unprecedented that you would have thought of a year back. So people are becoming pretty comfortable buying from a brand.com. They're not fuzzy about it has to be from Amazon. Obviously, for certain category of products where consumer wants a product faster, and they would have more reliability on Amazon delivering to your doorsteps in a day or two, there might be certain bias for a customer to buy a product. But on the flip side, when it comes to brand store, it's about authenticity. It's about you buying the right product directly from the brand. It's about it's also about getting fresh products. So a lot of brands play this strategy that they would have new collection of products on their brand store, while the marketplaces would more be for discounted products. So they would play that balancing that well. So I think you just need to get your strategy right and focus on both, I would say, in a long term.
Okay. Akshay, do you agree with that as well? A hybrid model works best?
Hybrid model definitely works best. I don't think there is a two-way to that. For a new D2C brand, I think relying on marketplaces will be extremely critical, because that builds out reliability. That also builds out an experience for the brand in itself. They do not have their data points in place, so playing out on someone else's turf uh, while you get your shit together, it's extremely easy. You can set your own marketplace processes right, and you can just get cracking. Once you've defined what works, what doesn't, what product, and you have identified the right market fit, what the right pricing should be, what the right communication should be. Once you've defined all of that, then you move to your brand store. There is no two ways to that. I don't think it's a either or situation. It's an and situation. The key element here is the balance.
Right.
Amit and Ashish rightly pointed out that a lot of brands do this strategy where they bring out the fresh collection on their own store, and whereas marketplaces keep on doing the discounting piece. We've also seen that marketplaces come up with their own private labels after they've seen a particular brand category showing immense promise and immense demand. So the fact that you the replaceability of a brand or the replaceability of a product by say, for example, brought to you by Amazon, and from there going to manufactured by Amazon. So this shift will come very quickly. So brands have to take this time and use this time very, very smartly in building their learnings. Once they build their learnings, go immediately back on their brand store. While you do that, you do not stop selling on marketplaces, because again, as I said, it's not an either or situation, it's an and situation. So you double
Got it.
down on marketplaces if it's working for you. Encash on that reliability and the brand of the marketplace, because a lot of times for new D2C brands, their people, whether they can rely on it or not, whether they can focus, whether this product will reach to me or not. Instead of doing it on brand store, do it via Amazon, because Amazon will have an Amazon Prime. Amazon will have its own, replacement and refurbishment guarantees. So the trust factor can be delivered through marketplaces. So, but the long-term gain will definitely be through your own brand store.
Okay, okay, that makes a lot of sense, and that actually brings me to my final question, at least as part of this panel discussion. Your thoughts on the future of D2C commerce, because we spoke about the challenges, we spoke about the success models, we spoke about some of the key metrics that need to be tracked in terms of your return on ad spends and your average order value, etc. Just your thoughts on how do you see this space evolve, and what should, if there were probably a couple of things that new D2C brands need to start off focusing on, what would those be? We'll start with Sunil.
No, so I said at the outset that this is the chosen path for us. So I feel that this is the way forward. I have bet on real estate for the last 15 years with the brand, and I think that that time is up for now. And I feel that the online space and the DTC online is where the brand focus should be. I feel that as a brand, what we need to do, which I've said earlier, is to build on categories, make the product more solid, make the price offering right, focus on fundamentals, and basically move forward in a way that you really can engage with as many customers across different platforms, different portals, different categories. And I honestly think this is a big country, and the reach is very important today. The reach that you can get through the online channel is unmatchable. It would cost you a fortune to build out that many stores across the country and reach out to it. So that is the only path for growth, I think. For going forward, I feel that is the way forward.
Makes sense, especially the point about reaching masses and achieving scale. So that makes a lot of sense. We come to Nitin now.
Yeah. So post-COVID era, I believe it's going to be new to all of us, going to be very surprising to all of us. We all will be keep on evolving every month on how the customer behavior, their purchasing pattern, everything is changing, and we will have to evolve around it. But one thing is for sure, that D2C brands are going to do much better than they would have done pre-COVID era. Right, I see more on, the things are going to be more transparent, because now you are directly dealing with the customers. Earlier, take an example that if you are selling through a distribution or the dealer network, then if the customer doesn't like your product, he will say, I'm not buying it, right? But you're not getting a fair feedback on the spot, right? Right now, when you're giving it to the customer, your product definitely is going to come back, as well as you're going to get a very bad review also. So I believe it will put a lot of pressure on the manufacturing companies also to have the best quality that they can offer as well as take care of their customer experience also. As Amit mentioned, every step matters to the customer, from the very beginning to the how much time it took for the customer to get it. Then honestly, in our case, the packaging also matters. The first impression matters in our case, and then definitely the product. And not only the product at that time, but also how the product is performing in 3 months, 6 months time. And so the whole thing, I believe will become much more transparent. And with respect to that, as well as I also see an opportunity for new players coming in and playing their part in the technology, in the customer experience. Like, we will see a lot of startups come to I see a lot of startups. They are going to come and going to use the technology to reach out the customers well. So I believe all the brands, all the startups will have to, keep on, keep the things open and keep on learning from each other's experience and try to keep on evolving ourselves.
Okay, all right. Ashish?
So if you really see, this was actually dream for most of the organizations to connect directly to customer. And then if you see, channel was actually a way in which they were connecting. Now, due to this sudden situation, this interaction becomes like very, very transparent. It will depend on how it will move in future, depends on what sort of value proposition you can give to customer. Because today customer may be buying because there is a need. Like in case of grocery, I mean, 3 months before, if you were getting 5 items out of 10 also, customers were happy. Now, even if they are getting 7 out of 10, they are actually writing reviews that, okay, I am not getting actually the complete basket. So if you are not able to build it for that customer, for that satisfaction, and same is for our industry also in case of furniture, because today people are buying because they don't want to go to store. But
Right.
if we don't augment this with use of technology, with use of those things which they were looking for in maybe in those retailers or maybe like channel partners, the comfort and those sort of things. So that entire thing needs to be developed, and there is a huge like possibility of developing it and building a big case for a D2C brand itself.
Okay, okay. Amit, I'm coming to you now.
Yeah, so I'm very optimistic about the DTC growth. I think in the short to medium term, a lot of DTC brands are going to come up, especially to get into the untapped demand, untapped need in various segments. Um, but it will boil down to what are the bets that they are taking and what are the battles that they're picking up will decide how many DTCs will survive long term. Because the business models are evolving very fast. I mean, with post-COVID era, you're gonna see a lot of new business models going to come up. The way you conduct your business. So the entrepreneurs needs to be very agile, very frugal, focus on frugal innovations, and picking the battles right in terms of are you trying to become the channel? Are you trying to become specialist in a channel? Or are you trying to keep your focus on the product and the demand that you're catering? It's going to boil down to who picks the right battles and play the adaptability game with the different business models over a period of time will decide the survivability of these DTC brands.
Okay. Akshay?
One of the things that I think direct-to-consumer brands will post-COVID era will realize is uh, the importance of mass and importance of reach. Because once you've exhausted your metros and tier ones, that's when people will start talking tier two, tier three, and the Bharat, as we like to call it, as a conventional term says. So a lot of untapped markets and a lot of untapped geographies and territories are going to open up. Number one. Startups which are agile enough to adapt to these demands, to listen to these demands, to identify these gaps, and create products and product market fits are the ones who are going to lead and lead the way forward. Uh, One of the qualities that I think most of the startups will have to evolve is their understanding and their ease of tech, because COVID has taught us that if a startup is not investing into tech, or if a startup is not realizing the true potential of tech. Last 5 months have taught us the value of tech. So as a scalable structure, invest into your tech infrastructures, tech architectures, and make sure that you are here for the long run and not for tomorrow or the day after or the short run of 12 months. Start looking at a larger horizon, but while not losing out the immediate metrics, because if your immediate metrics are going for a toss, you are definitely out of the play for the long run. One another thing that I've realized is, which is going to set a lot of D2C brands apart, is the focus on their own product quality, because at the end of the day your experiences are replicable. No experience are unique to yourself. Be it chatbot, be it superlative delivery,
Correct.
everything can be replicated, but at the end of the day, if your product quality is superficially super, then you are basically the your USP is your product. So if the USP of your brand is your product, then I think replicating that is going to be really, really tough. So brands and D2C companies which focus on their own products get it better, make it more value driven, make it more conscious with the fact of the mind that, okay, what customers are asking for, am I getting it to them right? Is this the right fit? Is this the right size? The right quality? If you crack that, I think you're set for the long run.
Okay, awesome. And I think we at Netcore Solutions also are very bullish with regards to the growth that the D2C segment will bring in, especially through digital channels, which is why, in a lot of our conversations also, the need for marketing automation and personalization has now emerged as, something that they want to build as part of their tech stack. And Amit would back me up on this, because the point here being that Sunil also mentioned, the scale and the reach that a digital presence offers you is immense. And through the power of marketing automation, it just sort of like makes those your marketing campaigns and customer experiences digitally far more personalized. So that's something that's also going to fuel further growth, I feel, in this particular space. So just to
Absolutely.
summarize, I think what fantastic insights that have come out. I'm just going to summarize the key learnings for the audience. So we've realized that hybrid model is the way forward. There are no two ways about choosing marketplaces or your brand store. It's a question of when you choose to do it. Product quality trumps pretty much everything and is central to your customer experience, because channels and experiences can be replicated. Attention to detail is extremely critical at every stage of your customer journey, and using tech to scale growth will become critical in the future. Also, of course, I also like the point that Sunil made about it being a game of width and not of depth. So yeah, I think we've gotten a lot of awesome insights. Thank you so much for making the time and being a part of this unique discussion. I hope you guys had a decent time as well, sharing your insights.
Thank you. Thanks, Pradyut. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
thank you, thank you,
Thank you,
Pradyut.
Pradeep,
Thank you.
for
Thank you so much.